Hi, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today I wanted to talk about assuming the best. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, you can join Rare Bird Medicine as a subscriber on YouTube. And we do have videos on there like practicing pronoia and assuming grace that will also kind of touch on these topics that I'm trying to tickle your day with. So I wanted to talk about assuming the best. One of the challenges I've found in this life of mine is that there can be a tendency in this paradigm to assume the worst. It's like if you don't get that phone call, that response that you wanted from someone that you have interest in a specific time window, well, then you must be unlovable. They must not be as interested as they seem. They must, we can make up things with our beautiful imagination that don't always serve. And sometimes we can assume the worst. We can assume the worst of another, and we can assume the worst of the self. So assuming the best is actually a practice of pronoia. Pronoia is the practice where you assume that the universe is aligning in your favor, where you assume that if there's a delay in a phone call, if there is a delay in something you're seeking to have manifest, then you assume that things are aligning for the most ideal circumstance and they will bear fruit, or the seed will burst forth from the soil in the perfect right divine moment for you. Now, I understand that this can be a challenging practice. I spent a long time being single. Granted, I've had moments. I spent like a year in Austin dating somebody that I would identify as an alcoholic. And I gotta say, to me, it's like dating somebody that's not there. You might as well just be single, because if you're an alcoholic, you're already married to something. It's called alcohol, and you're not really present in the relationship because you're running from your emotions. So how much intimacy can you have with another when you're avoiding feelings, including love? It's hard to connect with your love when you're disconnected from your sadness and your anger and your shame and your pain, because you're running away through some other thing. I understand that. I have empathy for it. I'm not judging it, attacking it, or criticizing it ever. I've been in a lot of places and I understand a lot of different pathways. I'm graced with that in this life. What I can say is that it can be easy to just assume that the worst thing is happening. Today I was driving on the highway and some person decided to just zip wildly in and out of traffic at a very high speed. And as they decided to do that with me, they were in the process of crashing into my car. Being on a highway, was going a really high speed as well, and had to quickly be hyper attentive to my realm and get out of the way, which caused a little bit of a shake. It could be easy for me to assume, and trust I did and wanted to for quite a while, and then I was like, let's just rein this in. I just wanted to assume like they're an idiot or they're a maniac. I want to assume some low level frequency, low vibration, judgmental, attacking sort of vibration, because it's like, what kind of lunatic would do such a thing? What I don't know is they could have someone in their car that has a gunshot wound. They could be a new father and their child is being born and they're trying to get to the hospital, and they're not really thinking about the space-time paradigm they're moving through because their entire attention is with another in the vehicle that they love. So this is something I learned through Quest Teen Leadership and getting to work with a bunch of teenagers, which was such a blessing in my life. But Quest Teen Leadership really taught me, it's like there are stories that we tell, and those stories don't always serve us. We are the storyteller. We are the creator of the stories. So if we want to change the way our world feels to walk through, one of the things that we certainly can do is start to assume the best. Start to assume the greatest. Wow, that guy is really passionate about getting somewhere important, no doubt. Is a different story to tell than this world is full of lunatics. Which is where I wanted to go for a minute. So I would ask myself today, just based on that experience, I always look to like the stories that come in, what filters into Heather's life, and some of the stories that are filtering in today is like, how am I going to hold this moment? And what the mind and the imagination and the heart and what the vessel based on the prevailing operating vibration, what's available in this realm, what they tend to want to do when we're in a state of unknown is to judge or assume the worst. So if you're dealing with a witch and you don't know what a witch is, you might judge that they're the devil and assume the worst of them, which is a darkened thought to hold about another being. If you are a divinity-centered, deity-centered person, it's a really darkened thought to hold about your brethren that was created by the same creator that you praise in your own philosophy. So kind of a strange direction to go, to just be like, they're evil. It's like, okay, why don't you leave that up to God and just calm down and try forgiving and loving people and meeting them where they are. Let's not ask everybody to be in the same place, same state of evolution. And if you think you are exalted, good, then pray for them. Pray for me if you need to. Great. I love blessings and prayers. So one of the things, I want to really actually talk about this from two different angles, but one of the angles is an outer expression of that. How often do you assume the worst of others? Now, anything you do in the outer is a reflection of what's happening on the inner level. So if you're assuming the worst of others, on some level, you're assuming the worst of yourself. We know that Heather certainly assumes she's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs sometimes, because I, like anyone, can have moments like when somebody tries to drive into my car where something primal takes over and I want to get angry and I want to protect. And so that might cause me to take a more aggressive expression towards somebody that's just obviously urgently trying to get somewhere. So one of the ways we can come back to assuming the best is if you're feeling negative feelings, if you're feeling upset, then to start with, what is the story I'm telling and what are the facts? If you're ever upset and your upset is derived from another person, what story am I telling and what are the facts? So let's say you have a friend that betrays you in some way. I once had a friend that I considered a best friend actually be in a room where I was about to be assaulted and say, don't listen to her, just screw her. Used harsher language than that. And then walk out of the room. Well, that felt like a betrayal for my best friend to let me get assaulted and to walk away from me and leave me there to be assaulted, which was exactly how I lost my virginity. So it would be easy for me to assume the worst of that person. And we can trust that there's moments with that where I was like, are you evil itself? What in the hell is wrong with you? And in my own growth and evolution and awareness, I understand that we are all in different states of evolution. Heather has a long way to go. She's not there yet. She's got a lot of ways to grow. And bless her, may she get there. And may it be easy. And may she get on the road quicker. And in the same vein, this being that did this, that left me to this very difficult experience that I believe I as a soul wanted to have, because I'm eternal and can't actually be hurt. I would say as a spirit, but people like the word soul. I believe spirit wants to know itself and gives itself a wide variety of experiences through a wide variety of bodies, expressions, plants, animals, blah, blah, blah. I think the one spirit wants to know itself and expresses in many ways. And clearly this aspect of the one spirit wanted to understand this thing called betrayal. What is forgiveness? How do we get there? So what I've come to realize over time is that a really healthy person that has healthy self-love, healthy self-esteem, a healthy evolution and the balance of their being would never do something like that to me, ever. They would be too evolved. They would know too much. I certainly know way too much to ever do something like that in this lifetime to another two-legged. Doesn't mean to me that I haven't done it in a previous life. So let me have compassion for where someone can be penned. And what I realized later, because when that happened, I was a teenager. I was like 13, and it was hard. It was hard. I actually told the person I forgave them, but it took me years to understand that I did. So what it caused me to realize is that what were her teachers If she were to say, don't listen to her, just screw her, and walk out of the room when I'm about to be assaulted and clearly don't want that experience, what were her teachers that was an offering in her understandings of how to respond? What kind of teachers must she have had? How many adults, how many grown folk left this beloved child to terrible experiences without protecting and keeping her safe? What I can tell you is that day I found myself in that place because she was trying to run away from her abusive mother. So she is certainly somebody that knows what it means to not feel safe, and certainly has had a teacher that offers only the opportunity to extend, not safeness. So can I have compassion? So I'm using an extreme example and a simple example, but I want us to consider. I want us to consider, where is it I'm assuming the worst of others? I can tell you many times in my life, there's all kinds of stuff that'll just flush up, like, oh, I guess I'm going to give this person a ride to their hotel, or I don't know. I like to aid and be of service, and sometimes I might just be caught up in the middle of something and I wanted to respond in a certain amount of time, but something is bubbling in my life that requires my attention. So just having patience with your fellow man, understanding, returning your attention to the breath. If you feel impatient, if you feel like, why isn't this happening the way I want it in the moment I want it? Why isn't this person driving in the way I want them to in the moment I want them to? I was headed to Whole Foods to get some sushi, which I eat before class. And I was like, I just sat in the parking lot for a minute and was like, yeah, that gave me a lot of endorphins, and let me just calm down. Let me get back in my center. Let me not assume the worst of them. Let me bless them. Let me pray that they get there safely. Let me turn this coin over. The other way we can practice that, not assuming the worst, or this more pronoia aspect of being, where we assume that everything is aligning in our favor and assume that things are working, is to assume the best of ourselves. So the other way I see this show up for two-leggeds that is, it's terribly sad to witness in myself and in others, is where we assume the worst of ourselves. I've watched so many beautiful beings, myself included, be engaging with somebody that is in a more toxic or poisonous state. And because they are empathetic, because they are sensitive, because they are loving, because they are kind, they want to assume, because they are responsible, they want to assume that the issue is with them. So, I spent a couple of years with somebody that was emotionally imbalanced. I would say emotionally aggressive. Now, that was an improvement for this person. They came from a very physically abusive household, which I didn't. But they had moved from physical abuse to emotional abuse. So that was actually progress in the lineage for them to step out of physically harming things. And now the work would be around not being an emotional abuser. But what I can tell you is that I questioned myself. It was like, what am I doing wrong? Am I not loving enough? Am I not forgiving enough? Am I not kind enough? What am I doing wrong to elicit this type of response from the person I love? And I spent about a year, spent 2 years with him, but the last year of it, it was like, what am I doing wrong that's causing this? How can I fix it? What is wrong with me? I assumed the worst of me. I didn't assume that the growth edge or the evolution edge was with them. So I think it's important to remember, too, that evolution doesn't always lie just with you. It lies with other two-leggeds you engage with as well, and they might be facing their own personal hell. So checking in, are you assuming the worst of yourself? Are you talking ugly to yourself? Are you vilifying yourself when you're really not the one with the growth edge? Maybe you are experiencing another person that has an evolutionary state of growth on a given topic with you. Can you have compassion? Because each one of us has a little bit of growth work to do. May you assume the best of yourself and everyone you know. Blessed be.